Hey everybody, welcome back to the Up and Adam Show. How's everyone doing? It's been a while since I've recorded an episode, but I hope you guys are keeping safe. I'm here with a very special guest. He actually made this cool figurine, which I posted on my Instagram account, the Up and Adam Show. And he goes by the name Sir Collectalot on Instagram. No, he's not actually a real knight, guys, but he's a really cool guy. I'm pleased to welcome Miles McAlpin. How are you, buddy?
Good. Thanks so much for the great intro. I like that.
No problem, man. I know I wanted to throw that the medieval time kind of esque in there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it sounds so much better with your accent you threw on it too. I like that.
thank you, man. How you doing? Good?
Pretty good. Yeah. There's no real story behind that name, so I like to hear other people say it, and it sounds like pretty natural when other people say it. But yeah, I didn't really have a good story behind that. I just came up with a name for the account, and then I just kind of owned it ever since. And I think it fits pretty well.
Well, that definitely does. And I mean, the fact that you do collect toys and stuff and you make them, which is,
That's exactly it.
it fits well with the theme you're going with. But yeah, so for most of my viewers who don't know, so tell them a little bit about yourself. So from the Instagram page, you post toys that you make. They're figurines, kind of like the one I have right here, obviously, which we'll get into that later. But yeah, tell us about how you got into that and the story behind the whole page.
Cool. Yeah, like you said, I started off collecting. So I got into, only through Instagram did I really know about these toys. But there's a community of people that make these bootleg toys, bootleg action figures, which usually involves either repurposing old figures to make new ones, or other artists work with resin, plastics, other things to make their toys, from scratch. But I do, yeah, the first option, which is the repurposing old figures that I find either on eBay or in stores or on, I like finding older stuff, definitely. Like I like the idea of kind of recycling a toy and giving it a new life. So that's kind of where I ideally find stuff either at flea markets, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it involves, using Photoshop to design the packaging. And then I print everything here at home, and I use, a mat board cutter to trim everything down, make it look like official kind of toy packaging.
Yeah. And brand new and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I like the idea of it looks like it could be a real manufactured toy, but just made right here in my apartment.
It gives it the way you do the toy. I see a lot on your page. It has a very retro feel, and with the packaging, the way the toy looks, but it looks very professional. Like it doesn't look like it, like, a toy. I find nowadays, I'm only 22 years old, but I'm very into the whole 80s and 90s stuff, which you could probably tell by my page, right? And I could see that you kind of are as well. I mean, given that you probably grew up in the 90s, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
So, I don't know if you noticed this, but toys back then had a lot more creativity, colorfulness, creativeness to it, and now it's kind of dull and boring. So I guess what you're trying to do, and a lot of people that are doing what you're doing as well, you're kind of bringing new life to the toy. Is that what you guys are kind of doing?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it, especially when it's like a toy that's just been sitting in the back of like a barrel at a toy store that nobody's touched. I'll pick it up, take it home, sand it down. Usually I'll sand off certain parts that I don't want on it, and then add clay. I'll spray it with primer and then repaint it.
And how do you, when it comes to the actual ideas of toys, I see you have some really creative ones, and we'll get into that later as well. But how do you come up with these cool ideas, man? Like, is it just stuff you find online and you kind of and your brain's just hyperactive? Like, oh, that's a cool idea, I got to jump on it.
That's a pretty good explanation. Some of it is definitely that. Like I do love to go backwards. I love to be like at a toy store, find the toy, and then come up with the idea from that toy. Because I might not even repaint the face of a toy if I think that it matches what I think it could be, and if maybe adding a new hairstyle to that, adding a hat or an accessory to that would make it as close to that. Usually it's a celebrity of some kind or a character that people are familiar with. And it kind of, I think that I could turn it into that. That's kind of like my favorite way to go about it. But you're right. Sometimes I'll just see something either in the news, or I do like internet culture, like, things that end up kind of going viral, things like that. And then to turn that into a toy is something that kind of I find hilarious. And I think other people have kind of responded to as well too.
Yeah, of course. And especially with all the memes going around, with COVID too, everyone's in their house, right? So everyone's
Totally.
and there's actually one guy, I'll give him a shout out because I see you guys follow each other, and I met him through Instagram. Dan Trader, Time Immemorial.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and he's like the king of like Sopranos memes, right? He's so funny.
Yeah.
I got introduced to him by my producer, Mafia Chronicles. I'm not sure if you guys follow each other, but
I'm not sure. No.
It's like their mob pages and everything, right? But it's funny with Dan. It's funny because he makes these memes, and I see that. I think one of them you made, it was around Sopranos and stuff, right? You made
I made a toy for a mutual friend of Dan and I's that
Oh, Pete, Premium
yeah,
Pete.
of Pete, exactly. So I made the Premium Pete Sopranos toy that Danny bought off me to then give to Pete.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So it's cool you brought this little community. I shouldn't even say little, man. Big community, because you built a big fan base on Instagram as well, over 10K now. And it's nice that, like, even for me, I bought a commission piece off you. Dan bought one for his friend. So I think it's nice that we're, even at your age or my age or anybody's age, it's not just looking at it like, oh, this is a toy, it's for kids. It's more like it's a representation of somebody, or of, like, for example, Pete loves Sopranos. So you kind of embedded him on Sopranos. So it's more of you look at it and you go, wow, this is like, it's everything I love in an action figure, and now it's mine. That's a cool.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a cool.
Totally. And that's what, you said we'll get to yours, but the idea was definitely to bring, like, I don't know you, but you told me a little bit about you, and I learned a little bit from your page. And so, like, to turn you into a character is kind of like, and I think people love that. Like, I think it plays into people's egos, not in a negative way, but to be able to see themselves as a toy is this really cool thing. And I think a lot of people that, people get it for gifts, or they want one of themselves, but I think it's just a concept that people are just get excited about and have fun with. That's the most important part about it.
And the inner child of me is coming out when I look at my toy, and I'm sure many people as well. And it's like, I really want to open it and play with it. But fuck, I can't do it. It's so nice.
I'm glad you didn't.
No, imagine I did. Imagine I was like, hey, I love this action figure. Like, Adam, where the fuck is the packaging? It's like,
totally.
I thought that was just for the. Yeah. Oh, that'd be so bad. I was gonna get like something like to prank you, like to show like a little toy. Like, I love my figurine. Like, what happened to the box?
People can do whatever they want with it, but and like some people actually say, like, do not open, or not a toy, or things like that on the packaging. I never have added that kind of like detail, because I think it's like, hopefully people don't want to keep it up. Yeah, and it displays so much better with the packaging. I think, like, they're called bootleg toys. Like, that's what most people in the community call them. So it's like, they're not perfect. They're really like, I got as close to turning, making that figure look like you, or looking like a celebrity as I can. And then the packaging really brings it all together, obviously, to have it next to the actual image. Like, I think helps a lot, obviously.
I'm pretty disappointed, because you made the figure look better than me. So, like, I'm looking at him wishing I looked like him. Now he looks.
No, it came out great. And that's one where, like, I found a figure that, had a similar facial structure to you. And I don't know if you want to talk about your toy now, or we'll get into it later, but yeah, it's just
whatever you want. Yeah.
It was just fun to find, like, in that case, it's not like I found that and I was like, oh, this looks like Adam. It was like you came to me and were like, hey, I'd love to get a toy made. And at that moment, I didn't have anything offhand that I thought looked like you, and then I just went hunting for something that I thought could work. And then I found something that ended up working out perfect. So that's kind of the fun of it, is that searching and trying to be creative with parts that you do have to make it look like something else. So
yeah, and like I said, that's where your true passion comes out. You could tell you're very passionate about this. And I saw from your Instagram, you started this page pretty recently. It's only past a year, no?
Yeah, I started like maybe a year and a half ago now, probably. But again, when I was collecting, I was just using that page kind of like to just separate it from my personal Instagram account, just because I wanted to post the toys that I had collected. I wanted to kind of only follow people, toy accounts, just keep it separate from my personal account. And then I ended up getting furloughed from my job for a few months. So I had a lot of extra time on my hands, and I just decided, okay, maybe I could actually make these myself. And, most people in the community are really good about sharing information and, wanting to help people with tips or just whatever to help them get started. And I kind of just tried it and failed a bunch of times and then started to get better and better. And now I'm, like you said, it's been about a year and I've gotten about 10,000 followers that usually would benefited from having people that I've made toys of share it. Things like that obviously helps, but
Yeah.
But that's the fun of it, is getting to see people's reaction to it and them sharing the love.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you brought up that you failed a bunch of times, and then you kept going with it, because I think many people fail, not sorry, like they fail understanding that, right? They don't they think things come easy, right? For example, like, and again, I like to bring on my show because there's like in a way I can really relate to you. I every guest I get on, I try to relate to them in some aspect. That's the reason. Like I like to become friends with them and understand things, right? So in our case, right, like again, like I with my show, it was strictly an audio podcast initially last year when I started. So I started last year in April, and same thing. I not that I failed, but yeah, like you see things that work, that don't work, and you could kind of tweak things along the way. You can kind of make things better. So for your page as well, I'm sure you've been through things where it's like, this is not really working. I'm gonna try to do this now, or like, I could do this better. Let me try to do that. Or people love this. Let me focus more on that, right? So I think that's
Definitely.
where, yeah, and I think that's where, again, it all comes back to the passion, right? People think, again, it comes too easy, and then they quit, and then they see someone else do better, and they go, it's all luck for that guy. Oh, see, look how lucky he got. I was doing it too, but I guess shit happens. No, anybody can do it, but it matters how bad you really want it.
Totally. And I learned everything I know from YouTube videos, like YouTube tutorials on how to paint, work with clay, things like that. Like it's all very accessible information. And I had never done any painting or clay work before. So it was all about just learning as I went along. And yeah, that was kind of like, I basically didn't have any hobbies too. I wanted to just give myself something to pass that time, especially when I didn't have a job for a few months last year. And there's just, with the internet, there's just so much information about, you could really teach yourself how to do almost anything on the internet.
YouTube, Instagram, I'm telling you, man, and the community that Instagram has, even for like what you're doing, what I'm doing, like this, even with the nostalgia type of stuff, it's so big, man.
Yeah.
After this, I'm gonna try to hook you up with someone I know that has a big account that can probably help with what you're doing, because I think
very cool. Great.
I believe in what you're doing, bro. But I want to really get into this.
Cool.
For those who really can't see it, I'll put a bigger description, bigger picture right here. But basically, first off, I want to just tell you what I like about it, and then you could tell me your thought process behind what inspired you.
Sounds good.
First off, the packaging. Okay, so when I got it, I really love the packaging. It's mind you guys, I'm a very gentle guy. I'm not gonna ruin it, but I love the material. I like the way it feels as well, and I really admire you put me on a moped with Kelly Kapowski. So thank you very much. But yeah, I like that a lot, and the figurine as well. I like how the details in it. The jeans, you can tell they're not just a solid color. Anybody would probably just, paint it normally, but I liked how you give that washy look, that worn in feel. So it looks very realistic. I like even at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can really see, but you have the cons at the bottom there in really small and black. So I see those little details, but where'd your inspiration come from making this toy for me? So I guess you knew I was into that type of stuff, but where did that come from?
Yeah. I mean, you definitely I don't even know if you had really told me. I think that we talked about retro nostalgia type art or something when we first talked. And obviously when you sent me your logo, that's like kind of like MTV inspired, like it fit perfectly with an era that I'm familiar with, like you were talking about. So then I kind of like thought of, things that I think that would kind of like resonate with that same interest. So I went with that photo, and, I sent that to you. I always do try to send people kind of a preview when I mock up the packaging, just to make sure that they're happy with it. Maybe you would say, oh no, like I hate that show, or for whatever reason, it didn't resonate with you. It didn't feel like you. And I would have gone in a different direction. But I'm glad that just fit and you were excited about it. And then I went for it. And yeah, like I just tried my best to match that figure to that packaging to make you look like
That's
that. You know, I think that
exactly like
that's
that
what
figure.
it's like the movie magic concept, right? Like I just do these little things that, you know, make it look as close as it does to that, so it feels like a real toy. Like those little, like that original figure, it had like, I forget if it was like a vest. I'm so bad at taking before and after photos. I need to do that because that's a very clear thing that people would probably find interesting about their toys. But it had like the guy had like a vest on and like kind of like these little accessories hanging off of it and a belt, like a tool belt. So I, you know, sanded all of that off and smoothed that out. And then I added the clay, like to make the sneakers. They were just like flat shoes. And I, you know, added that kind of like that pump that on the tongue in front.
Yeah.
Um, and like, I'm glad to hear that like those little details that I added, because I thought that that would help kind of bring it all together, is exactly what you noticed that did that. So that's like, you know, it makes me feel good about my, you know, what I was going for is exactly how you received it. And those jeans that I did paint one color blue the first time, and then I was like, no, that doesn't do it justice. Then it just looks like light colored pants, but
Yeah.
what they are is this weird acid wash thing. So I played with texture, played with colors, and then it ended up coming out in something that I was much more happy with in the end than the single color. So it's great to hear that you notice all those same exact things.
I noticed everything, even little details, man. At the bottom, you literally put the little, like, I don't know if you can really see it, but you put the things inside there too. I think that was more
Right.
for just when you were making
Right.
it, but still, it's like the soles of the shoes essentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything, the details are great. My main thing is when for anybody that does that I paid to do something, right? It's always in their hands. I always go, remember I told you, I said I trust your full creative control.
Totally. You did.
I never, you know, at the end of the day, like, even though, like, this is exactly what I was picturing too. Saved by the Bell, to me, when I was a kid, I used to watch it like every morning before school. And I caught it. It was
Yep.
obviously like reruns, but I caught
Right.
it right when the reruns were kind of fading out. So I caught
Yep.
it for like that 1 or 2 years. I was like 6 or 7 years old, like grade one. So I caught it right then. But yeah, honestly,
Love that.
yeah, it came out fantastic. So I'm really happy with this figurine. And even again with the packaging. So when you, I guess, like the way you, like, so the figurines you make, are they all the same size in terms of like packing? Have you done anything bigger, or is it?
I definitely tried, like I was saying, like I was just kind of would try something, and my printer paper was that I bought offline was, you know, 8.5 by 11. So I just ended up using that. And then I was like, no, that's a little bulky. It doesn't really feel like a figure, you know? So the first few toys that I made, you know, they're on this kind of big paper, and it feels like a photo on the wall more so than like a real like tangible toy.
Like,
So
like
then,
a handheld thing. Yeah.
yeah. So then I went and kind of read about what sizes were pretty standard. And I think this is like 6 by 9 is what I use, which is pretty standard, I guess, for other figures.
Yeah.
And it just kind of has a good proportions to it and feels right. So things like that I could make any size, you know, but it just works.
If it's, and that's what I was gonna say, the packaging itself, it's a perfect size, because yeah, if you went bigger, it would have been like, it wouldn't have worked, because again, back in the day when they made things like this is the exact same size basically. I think I think they had smaller ones, but like, you can't capture, like, if you were to make this whole thing on a smaller scale, what would happen? Well, what would happen with that after is it would take away from the picture in the background, and would just have the picture, which is not a bad thing because you want people to
Totally
emphasize on the figurine, but you want
Yep.
the picture to tell the story too, right? If you just had this and then this was smaller, people would be like, "Oh, that's a cool figurine. Where's it, like, you know, where's it really from though? I can't really tell."
Totally.
So that's where I
Yep.
like how it tells a story in a way, which is awesome.
Yep.
I want to get into some of the ones you made. I think I have like
Cool.
3 or 4, and there's some of my favorite ones. Okay, so the
All right, great.
first one I have, and for people who can't see, I'm gonna put the picture on the screen. So the first one is this one, the Saturday night. What's like Saturday Night Flavor.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Thank you.
I died at that one. And the funny thing about that one, first off, Saturday Night Fever, even though it's the corniest John Travolta movie ever, it is by far the best movie with soundtrack. I'll tell you right now, Bee Gees.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course. Me too. I do too.
Yeah. And I like how you put Guy Fieri, because there's I'm not sure if you watch Djibouti dubs on YouTube. Have you ever watched?
No.
You gotta check them all. You gotta watch Guy Fieri Djibouti dubs. It's it's hard to explain, but he just dubs Guy Fieri diners, driving to dive videos because he's always dipping his fingers and shit. He's always doing stuff. So it's always like it's the guy dubbing it in a funny way. So when I saw that, it reminded me of it. I was just imagining him actually doing disco in a club.
Awesome.
So that was
that one actually ended up another chef that follows me saw that I had already made one, and I like to make sure that everything I make is just one of one. Like if you're buying that, it's one of one. No one else is going to get it.
Yeah.
This other chef reached out and he said, "Hey, I missed, he knew that he had just missed the auction on it, but he's like, could you make another one?" So I reached out to the guy that won it. And I was like, "Hey, look, here's a situation. This guy wants to get it to give to Guy Fieri. Is it cool if I make another one?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's totally fine." He's like, "So you're telling me that me and Guy Fieri are going to be the only ones that have this?" I'm like, "Yeah, exactly." So I made like a slight variation to some of the coloring in it, just so it was slightly different. But yeah, that one ended up going to Guy Fieri, which was just awesome. So that feels good.
That. Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's awesome. And well, speaking of him, another one was the what's his name? Epic Mealtime.
Yeah.
That was so cool, man. I saw
that's fun. Up. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I didn't realize he was Canadian until he told me that's where his address was. So
yeah, fuck, man. It's so nuts. It's cool how funny. You meet so many people along the way. Someone wants something, and who knows? Hopefully one day you do someone. Imagine doing one for like Al Pacino or someone like big like that. Who knows?
Yeah, it's true.
That'd be cool, man.
I've had random people say that you got to be careful because you don't know who's telling you that they really know someone who knows someone who knows someone. But like, yeah, I love the idea of getting it in front of somebody that I'm, is an idol to me or someone I find funny or whatever it is. So
of course. Well, actually, since we're on that topic, who would be your dream person to make a toy of, or like to give to somebody?
Oh gosh, what a good question. I mean, I've sent one out to one of my favorite podcasters is comedian Theo Von. Do you know Theo Von?
No, I haven't heard of him.
He's like an American comedian. He's somebody that he's got a couple different podcasts with other people, and he's just hilarious, honest, genuine, really funny. And so I sent one out to his manager that I hope is going to end up getting to him soon. So that's one. But you're right. What's like it's a good question. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Time. Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it's there's so many people. I know I kind of put you on the spot with that one, but yeah, it's I was just thinking about, I'm like, yeah, who would be the biggest person? Yeah, but it's okay. Whenever you know, let me know.
All right, deal.
But the next one, and I want to hear your thoughts about this because you made one about the lighthouse.
Yes.
I don't know, it's so glary, but
no,
the lighthouse one. But this one really stood out to me because this movie, I'll be honest, man, the figurines are really cool. And the reason I love this a lot because the movie was so fucked up, but it was so funny and good. Like you obviously watched it, right?
So the story behind that is that this had come from a kid that I had never met before that reached out and said, "Look, like this is my favorite movie." I don't know if I don't know if it was his favorite movie, but he was just very invested in it, knew so much about it, has collected some art from it, and was like, "Look, like I want you to make me both characters." And he kind of had an idea of what he wanted for some of the art, some of the names, that he wanted me to use and things like that. So that was one where I definitely wanted to make sure that it was what he wanted and also put some of my own creative spin on. But and I hadn't seen the movie. And he was like, "Dude, first of all, go and watch the movie. Like before we even talk anymore, just go and watch the movie," which I absolutely, in this case, I completely benefited from doing before I started the toy. I think that like you said, it's a very trippy, just a wild movie.
It's a roller coaster, man. I don't even. Yeah. If you were to tell me, Adam, what's the movie about? I can't even tell you.
I'm with you.
I would just probably say it's about two drunken sailors losing their minds.
Totally. But then you could also, I would believe it if you told me that someone could write a fucking 10,000 page book about that movie too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I thought that was really
a couple
cool.
acid tabs. I mean, then I would write 10,000 book about it. Right?
Of course. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's a good one though. And we have two more. One of them, this one I was actually curious about, the cinnamon toast crunch. I don't know why that was such a tongue twister. With the shrimp.
Yeah. So that's one that like we were talking about, that like when, you know, something is kind of going viral on the internet, and it was something that I think that people find it pretty funny when they may even see my toy first and then that story is everywhere later. Do you know what I mean? Like I kind of like saw it starting to go viral. I, you know, did the toy one afternoon. You know, I tried to get it out as quickly as I could. And as you can see, it wasn't like a very difficult toy. Like the toy was actual cereal and a few pieces of plastic that I repainted to make look like the fish tails or the shrimp tails. So that was one that like I was able to do fully in a day and get out there in front of people that maybe they hadn't even seen the story yet. So I love that idea of kind of like sharing that, you know, that shared joke that everyone has or sees out there.
But it's funny. Your picture was the first I've seen of that meme about the.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so what's is that like? Tell me about that. What is like the real?
Yes. So this guy had gotten found shrimp tails in his cinnamon toast crunch and was, you know, bringing it to the attention of,
I guess, the company,
the cereal company on Twitter, and then it
went viral.
It blew up, and I was like, okay, like it would be pretty funny if I could find a way to recreate a box of that and then make it look like it was, you know, kind of like a 3D like actual box of cereal.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, so I think that was one where, like you said, you found it funny and weird, even though you didn't even know the story behind it. So
yeah, I was like, works. Hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that, man. I know it was an actual real thing. I thought you just made it up. Like, oh,
yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Yeah. I definitely do, like, even if it's a celebrity that I don't think people will know, you know, I put, you know, energy into the packaging that'll make sure that it is interesting or funny or whatever it is to other people that might not know what it's about.
Perfect, dude. Absolutely, man. And last one, actually, and this is one that has a special place in my heart, because this is actually the one that really was like, okay, I got to get you on my show. Because regardless, I was like, I want to get you on my show. But this one, the simp.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome. That was a fun one.
And I'll tell you why. Because it's funny, because when that new word simp, right? It's funny. My age group, that's like everyone's talking, that's the new word, simp and shit, right? So I'm like an old soul. I don't really use words like that, right? So
yeah.
my girlfriend, when she told me about it, she was like about that word. I was like, that's such a stupid word, right? And then lately, I've been watching. I love Simpsons, my favorite cartoon show ever, and I recently just found it on Disney Plus, so I've been like binging it. And it's funny, like 2 days after all that happened, I saw that picture. And I'm like, this is fate. Like we were just talking. It's like, I know it sounds crazier than I'm making it, but it was just like like coincidental. I was like, we were just talking about Sims, like the word, and then I was watching Sims like the day after. The day after I saw this photo, I'm like, hey, either someone's hearing my conversations or this is meant to be. So that's basically what happened.
Love that. That's exactly what I like to hear. Yeah. Like it's, you know, and that one again, like someone who knows the Simpsons and, you know, probably knows what that word is, they'll find it funny, or someone who, you know, gets the joke in general will find it funny. And yeah. I thought that was something that's like you're saying, like, I don't use that word, but I know what it means. And I know Twitter, you know, uses it, and kids, you know, a little younger than myself obviously use. So it's just something that I thought, it's a joke that's in my head that I, you know, need to create something to kind of get it out of my head. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, it's so funny, man. But honestly, Miles, it's been a pleasure talking about this with you. I think we're going to wrap it up here for today, but this was so much fun going over your passion for toy making. And I love my figurines. So thank you so much for that. And guys, if you want to buy a commission piece, I'll put Miles' Instagram down below, and you can contact him for any inquiries you guys have. Make sure to check him out, guys. Miles, thank you once again.
Thank you, Adam. Hey, this is a blast. Let's do it again sometime.
I hope to do it again.